we ended with Gandhi chuckling. Is that right? Okay. We've not yet gotten to the words of Gandhi himself, but more the introduction to what he said in his life, with his life. Can you imagine, like 100 years from now, let's say, there's a book written about you. Why? It can happen.
That'd be scary.
But before they quote you in what you said in your life, there was an introduction that talked about you, what you said in your life. Have you ever thought about that? It's entirely possible. So, good luck with that. Okay, here we go. I'll read a little bit and then pass it around. Maybe we'll get through the introduction. So, we see that prayer in this important book means everything from a more or less mechanical repetition or idle wish to the supreme state of absorption striven for by the mystics, and many techniques and stages in between. Because one can get to that absorbed state of meditation through prayer, the word stands for the whole process. But it is important to remember that for Gandhi himself, real prayer meant that latter state, that absorbed state. The essence of all prayers, this is Gandhi speaking now, the essence of all prayers is to establish God in our heart. The essence of all prayers is to establish God in our heart. And this is not, now the author speaks, and this is not something to do just on one occasion or in one particular setting. Gandhi's words now. When someone has got to the stage of heart prayer, that person prays always, whether in secret or in a multitude.
The comment about being in a state of heart prayer, even in the multitude, was the subject of some dispute. If one is reading for a state, if someone is reaching for a state of utter quiet, the objection often arose, what is the use of crowding in with a group of other people and praying aloud? Here we begin to appreciate the tolerance of Gandhiji's approach to the spiritual life, which balances his uncompromising insistence that unless your mind is still and your heart is absorbed in the goal, you are not praying. That is true. But before you reach that goal, the traditional aids handed down in all religions are not only not wrong, they're necessary. He who overthrew so many institutions because of their structural violence was no iconoclast when it came to the traditional methods of religious practice. He was well aware that the vast majority of us need some sort of external aid to begin intensifying our concentration. This is when they challenged purists who tended to scorn aids like praying aloud. He pointed out beautifully that prayer is a function of the heart. We speak aloud in order to wake it up. When we speak out loud at prayer time, our speech is addressed not to God but to ourselves, and is intended to shake off our torpor.
Congregational prayer can bond together people into a real community, a major plus for Gandhi, whose prayer meetings embraced people from all religions. For a congregational life, a congregational prayer is a necessity. It could even help certain people to get to the final goal, which was always to establish God in our heart. But for this purpose, serious members of the ashram would also do individual prayer, just as a singer has to practice his or her part before joining the choir. When in his weakness, Gandhi prayed for the life of his son Manilal, he addressed a prayer to an external God, even though he knew that in reality God is within us. Was that wrong? We are aware of the presence of God in our heart, and in order to shake off attachment, we for the moment think of God as different from ourselves and pray to him. This is Gandhi at his best, knowing human weakness, working with it, and above all, first of all, in himself. This is more than tolerance, it's compassion.
Western adepts have known that petitionary prayer, while not the goal, could be a step. When a Christian teacher was asked why we should pray when God already knows what we want, he replied, "The point of prayer is not to tell God what we want, but to get ourselves ready to receive it." Gandhi subscribes to this view. When he prayed for Manilav's recovery, it was a sign of not of wisdom, but of Father's love. There is really only one prayer that we may offer: Thy will be done. And yet, even this state of petition, where the worshiper lays him or herself open to the complete detachment of the will of God, is not the final stage. In the words of Saint Anthony the Great, the prayer is not perfect in which the monk is conscious of himself or of the fact that he is praying. Or as Gandhi puts it, in heartfelt prayer, the worshipper's attention is concentrated on the object of worship, so much so that he does not conscious of anything else. So when prayer becomes meditation, the time must come when the words of the prayer are hymned or an inspirational passage are suspended, taking with them all the back noise of the mind. Most Christian writers after the Middle Ages called it the prayer of silence. A desert father describes the indescribable result.
And when my tongue becomes silent because of the sweetness that comes from understanding them, I fall into a state where my senses and my thoughts become inactive. When by prolonged stillness my heart becomes tranquil and undisturbed by the turmoil of recollections, waves of joy ceaselessly surge over me, waves arising from inward intuitions that beyond expectation suddenly blossom forth to delight my heart. Gandhi's touch is to treat all this with down-to-earth practicality, even when he makes his most inspiring claims, as he once wrote about having heard the voice of God. He was stating a simple scientific truth which can be tested by all who have the will and the patience to acquire the necessary qualifications. This volume, first published in 1977 in India, brings together Gandhi's observations, reflections, and exhortations on prayer in all its meanings, and comes close to being the book on spiritual life that he never had the chance to write. It is the testimony of a man who not only lived that life to its highest conclusion, but forged of his most intimate experiences an instrument of social reconstruction for millions of others. Meditators will easily relate to the cheek by jowl juxtaposition, so like Gandhi, of the highest inspiration and the nitty grittiest tips on how to climb the steep heights of prayer in the modern world.
In the little essay on group prayer he began to sketch out in 1932, for example, reproduced here on pages 144 to 145, he begins emphatically with the essential point: prayer is the very foundation of the ashram. Then the discourse flows in its typical sliding transitions from point to practical point. To be real, prayer has to be from the heart. So no one should doze during prayers. Do we drift off while we're eating? No one should miss a prayer meeting. Do we forget a meal? In prayer, regularity is even more essential. If your attention drifts while at prayers, you are as good as absent. So don't just rush to the meeting. Get up fully, brush your teeth, and resolve your mind to stay alert. Here's how to sit, breathe, and do the recitation without drifting. You can repeat Ramanama if all else fails. And if even that fails, stand up. But this is embarrassing, so with trademark Gandhian compassion. Every now and then, some of the adults should stand up, even when they're not drowsy, to remove the stigma. And finally, as we begin, no mechanical repetition. Even if a person does not know Sanskrit, he should learn the meaning of each verse and meditate over it.
That could be interesting. Every once in a while, people just bouncing up from the ground, standing up. Sorry, go ahead.
Here he is, taking off a list of tips, as humdrum as brushing your teeth and sitting straight, but in the authenticity of these very details you sense the determination, the passion, the one-pointed focus he brought to everything surrounding prayer, when most of us seem to have 5 or 6 pairs of eyes. Perhaps it is because whatever he has to say is grounded in his own repeated, lived experience, and his desire to share it with us is driven by his insatiable love for mankind. Whatever the reason, the effect of the thoughts he collected make life-altering reading. Let his inspiration and his practicality strengthen your own practice, and decide for yourself whether prayer is the most irrelevant thing a person can do today, or the most important.
Is that the end of the introduction?
Mm-hmm.
All right, well done us. Any thoughts on that? Did anything rub you the wrong way? As you were hearing it, you said, no.
Rubbed me the right way.
Yeah.
Nothing rubbed you the wrong way. Okay.
Right. It kind of reinforced what, I mean, I have some days that it just won't get quiet, and you need to resort to old practices. I do. You know, and maybe do a mantra or a breathing practice or something, because that's as good as it's going to get today, but I don't want to skip trying, you know. So it was, to me, that was an affirmation that that's a good move.
Any other thoughts? There's a lot in that. And at times the author was speaking, and at times he was quoting Gandhi. So, any other thoughts?
Early on, I was trying to remember to say that I was wondering what he meant by the praying out loud. I didn't know whether there was everybody was saying the same thing, or everybody was saying their own thing, or was it aloud just inside yourself or outside, so people would hear. But it kind of worked it through so that I think I know what he was talking about.
I like how he pretty much said, if you're gonna do it right.
Mhm.
Be ready, be prepared.
Mhm.
Know what you're going for. Don't let yourself be distracted. Go all in.
Kind of like building a house.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it right. Know what you're doing, do it well, do it right. For practical advice.
But it showed the seriousness behind it. You know, it's like, this is important. Don't take it as a joke. And, go in there half doing it. You know. I like that was explained.
Anyone else? Okay, so we've finished the introduction. Why don't we, where'd the book end up? Do you have it over there? Can I see it? So, the next part begins the words of Gandhi himself, and we won't get into it much tonight, but I just wanted to share with you a few of his words, just a few. This is the meaning of and necessity for prayer. Part 1, the core of life. Gandhi writes, I am glad that you all want me to speak to you on the meaning of and the necessity for prayer. I believe that prayer is the very soul and essence of religion, and therefore prayer must be the very core of the life of people. For no one can live without religion. Those words would be challenged today by many, and particularly the word religion. So don't want you to get hung up on words. What he means by religion, I would call today, and I believe he would call too, spirituality, religious practice, healthy religious practice, not toxic religion. As most times I hear the word today tossed around, especially the movement that says I'm spiritual but not religious. You know, there's meaning to that. It's important to understand it, but this is not Gandhi's language. His language, he speaks about religion as a good thing. So, interestingly enough, the next sentence, and this was written a while ago, many years ago. Does anyone remember when he died? He was killed. Is it like 1947, something like that? Around the time the state was established, India?
I think so.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
47.
So, some time ago, he writes this. There are some who, in the egotism of their reason, declare that they have nothing to do with religion. So it's not a new movement. It was back then too. And I'm sure it was for centuries as well. But it is like someone saying that he breathes, but that he has no nose. Whether by reason or by instinct or by superstition, we acknowledge some sort of relationship with the divine. the agnostic or atheist does acknowledge the need of a moral principle and associates something good with its observance and something bad with its non-observance. And then he goes on. He speaks about everyone has some sort of innermost conviction. And he goes on. So maybe that's a good place to stop. Someone who says he wants nothing to do with religion whatsoever is like someone who breathes but says he has no nose. We'll close with this all. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us. Faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. When the night is fallen and the moon shines softly, gentle light, you guide us, faithful friend, you love us. At the close of this day, we give you thanks for your great love for the entire world and everyone in it, and especially tonight for the life, the teaching of Mohandas Gandhi, a courageous and compassionate soul. May we learn from him, we hear his words and reflect upon his life. May it be so.